Today we are going to learn how to solve quadratics by using the quadratic formula. So I've taught you a lot of different ways on how to solve quadratic equations. One way was by using your calculator, right? Y1, what do we put in Y2? 0, and then we go to second trace, option 5, enter, 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 but you have to do it for both times for the intersections. I taught you how to graph them by hand and see the intersections. I taught you how to factor them, yes. And then Friday we learned how to do square roots. When did square roots only work? When what was missing? The bx. And then today, this formula will work on any quadratic function. This is why I like this formula. So whenever I was y'all's age, I didn't want to think about which way to solve it. We weren't allowed to do them in our calculator. Our calculator didn't do them for us. So this is the way that I would do every single quadratic function. So at the top, put your quadratic in standard form, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Remember that when we're solving a quadratic, we're actually looking at where the parabola will cross the x-axis. So if I have a graph and I graph a parabola, these two spots right here are my solutions, also called zeros, also called roots, and also called x-intercepts. Now remember that sometimes there is only one solution. Like if I pull this parabola up and it's only touching at one spot, then there's only one solution. If it never touches, then there's, what would the answer be if there's never touches? No solution. Okay. The quadratic formula is found on your star chart. So y'all didn't have to get it out. I just want to show you. Right here under quadratic equations, the quadratic formula is this long formula. It is not hard. What do y'all see in it? A B, an A, and a? Where are you going to get those numbers from? From the function itself. Make sense? All right, let's write the quadratic formula down. The quadratic formula is negative B plus or minus. Why is it plus or minus? Because there's two answers. The square root of B squared minus 4AC, and make sure that's all under that square root, all over 2 times A. And this will solve for your values of x, which is your x-intercepts. It looks like a hard formula, but I promise you it's really not. It's really, really easy. Are y'all ready? I'll wait till y'all finish. Where did I get this formula from? Star chart. So you don't have to memorize it. It's right there on your star chart. Okay? All right, the first thing you have to do is make sure that the function is in standard form. So everybody look at example 1. Is this in standard form? Does it look like this? No. So I have to move the 15 to the other side. Yes? So it's the first thing I'm going to do. So I have 4x squared plus 7x. How would I move that 15 to the left? Minus 15 equals 0. Now I need to identify the A, the B, and the C. All right, so what's the A? 4. What's the B? 7. And what's the C? Negative 15. Now that I know those pieces, I am going to write this out with these pieces into the formula. All right, so here we go. I have x equals negative b, so negative 7, plus or minus the square root of, and make your square root pretty big because you got a lot of stuff to put under it. B squared, what's B? So 7 squared minus 4, so minus 4, times A. What's A? 4 times C, what's C? Negative 15, all over 2 times A. 2 times 4. And our calculator will do all the work for us. We just have to put it in. Now, how many times are we going to have to put this in our calculator? Why? One with a plus and one with a minus. So here's the deal. If you don't want to have to type it in twice, don't hit clear. I'll teach y'all, okay? All right, let's go put it in with the plus sign first. Now, is this a fraction? Yes, so should I use alpha y equals? Yes, so alpha y equals option 1. I'm going to type in negative 7 plus the square root of 7 squared minus 4 times negative 15 over 2 times 4. Now, if you punch it in wrong, you're not going to get the right answer. So make sure you're making sure that you punch it in correctly. Everybody got it? Yes or no? Hit enter. That is your first answer. Okay, so x equals 5/4. If you want it as a decimal, that's 1.25. But I need the other answer. Now, if you don't want to have to retype this in, are y'all listening to me? Don't clear it out. Hit second enter. It is going to re-enter what you put in. Then arrow over to the plus sign and change it to a what? No, not a negative. Minus. And then hit enter, and that's your other answer. So if I was to graph this equation, it is going to intersect on the x-axis at negative 3 and positive 1.25. Easy? It really isn't hard. So this is perfectly, if you don't have a graphing calculator, this is going to work every single time. So with the graphing calculator. But you've got to learn this way. All right, let's do the next one. Is this one written in standard form? Is this written in standard form? No, it's not set equal to. All right, so I have 2x squared plus 7x minus 9 equals 0. I need to identify the A, the B, and the C. So what is A? What is A? 2 on the second one. What is B? 7. What is C? All right, so we are going to plug these numbers in to this formula. So y'all try to set it up on your own, and I'll write it at the same time. Before you type it in your calculator, check with me that you set it up correctly. Everybody got it? Did everybody get 1 for the first answer? And then if you want, just hit second enter and go change the plus sign to a subtraction sign. Do not put a negative there. It's plus or minus. Okay, how'd we do? Okay? All right, let's try this one. Y'all try this one on your own. But the first thing you have to do is write it in standard form. Check it with mine. How did we do? What do y'all think about this formula? It's not hard, is it? Easy? All right, we're only going to do 2 more. Let's do this one. So go set this one up on your own. Put it in standard form first. Identify your A, B, and C. Round to the hundreds place if you need to. And then check your answer with mine. Are there any questions over this? Re-enter it? Okay, so once it's in, once you have your answer, if you just want to you don't have to retype it all, hit second enter, and it will re-put in the problem you just had. Then just arrow back and change the sign from a plus to a minus. Does that make sense? Okay. We're going to do one on the back, and I'm going to show you what happens when we have this kind of problem. Actually, let's just make up our own. I don't know which one would work. So let's just cross this out. We're going to do our own problem. Cross it out. We're going to do 2x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals 0. All right, identify the A. What's the A? 2. What's the B? Negative 3. Hopefully this one works. What's the C? Okay, so I have, okay, my formula is negative B. So everybody look at B. Is B already negative? So what is a negative negative? So I have 3 plus or minus the square root of B squared. Now stop. What is a negative times a negative? So do I need to put the negative 3 or can I just put 3 squared? I want to say it again. What is negative 3 times negative 3? Positive 9. What is 3 times 3? Positive 9. So your calculator, if you want to put the negative, you're going to have to put it in parentheses and then put the squared on the outside. Or you could just put 3 squared because you already know it's going to give you the positive answer anyways. Okay? Minus 4 times A times C, so times 2 times 5, all over 2 times A. So 2 times 2. So let's go to our calculator. Type in alpha y equals 3 plus the square root of 3 squared minus 4 times 2 times 5 over 2 times 2. What is the answer? Now here's the deal. If you get an error message and it says like sign change, that means you typed it in wrong. But if you get an error that says non-real answers, then your answer is no solution. It means it's never going to touch the x-axis. But I don't want you thinking just because you get an error, it's no solution, because it could be an error on your part, like I typed it in wrong. So if it says error non-real numbers, then the answer is no solution. If it says error sign change, it's telling you you typed something in wrong. Like you put a negative when it should have been a subtraction or a subtraction when it should have been a negative. Does that make sense? Okay, skip to the very last page back here. All these different ways I have taught you how to solve quadratics. Have we learned how to factor? Yes. When should you use factoring? When factoring can be done easily. Yes? Have I taught you how to graph and see it? Yes. When should you do that? I mean, honestly, I would never do it unless I know that it's going to be integers or if it says what's the approximate answers. Because when I graph by hand, I don't know if it's going to be like 2.316. You see what I'm saying? So you're only going to graph by hand if an approximate answer is okay. When would you find square roots? When the bx is missing. And when would you use the quadratic formula? On any quadratic function. So this one will work for everything. That's why I like using this one. So just looking at these, which method would you use? Look at this one. What's missing? So what would be the easiest way to do this one? The square root method, the one I taught you Friday. So this one would probably be easiest with the square root method. Look at this one. Would this one be easy to factor? It actually would. It'd be x plus 2 and x minus 2. So I would factor. Is this one easy to factor? No. Is the bx missing? No. So this one would be best using the quadratic formula. Now, on your EOC, you can do it however you want. Personally, I would solve them all in my calculator. I'd make it in standard form, put that in Y1, 0 in Y2, second trace. But could they ask you a question on how to set this up correctly. Yes, it is a TEK that I'm supposed to teach. You will also need it for Algebra 2. So it's very important that you understand this way. So on your assignment today, I don't want you solving them a different way. I want you doing it this way because you could be asked a specific question over the quadratic formula. Make sense? All right, I will pass out your assignment. And then, all right, on 1 through 6, what is it asking you to do? Does it even say solve? No, it doesn't. What is it asking for? Identify the values of A, B, and C. So how many answers will you have? So you need an A, you need a B, and you need a C. Now at the top of your paper, when we solve today, we're going to use the quadratic formula. So let's write the formula down so that you don't have to go find it. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. On 7 through 9, it just wants you to match the equation with which one is set up correctly for it. On 10 through 21, it wants you to use the quadratic formula to solve each equation. What does it want you to round to? Nearest hundredth if necessary. So if it's an integer, it's just an integer. But if it has a bunch of decimals, we're rounding to the nearest hundredths place. Does everybody understand? And I'm going to be really nice today, and you're only going to do, you're just going to do the evens on these, on 10 through 20. So these. Bless you. And then you're going to do number 22, part A and B. Part A and B. They give you the function right here. Then you're going to solve for A. It says, well, let's look at it together. For the period 1990 through 2002, the amount of shelled nuts, which is your Y, in millions of pounds imported into the United States can be modeled by this function, where X is the number of years since 1990. Write and solve an equation. So we're going to write it and solve it, where that you can use to approximate the year in which 300 million pounds of nuts were imported. So you're going to plug that 300 million in for which variable? For Y. Then to solve it, you've got to set your function equal to 0. So the 300 would have to be moved over here. And guys, just leave it, I think you should just leave it as 300. And then in your answer, it should work. Okay.